In this video, I'm using VNC to connect to Rich's radio in New York, and I'm in California, so on the right-hand side of the screen you'll see my ICOM remote, and in more like in the left-hand side of the screen is the server computer that is at Rich's house in New York. So that's what you're seeing. Okay, let's assume you've set up your ICOM remote on a server computer to which you have a radio or two radios connected. If you go into ICOM remote, you'll notice that there is nothing in the server list, which is the way it's supposed to be. The server would not have anything listed here because the server list is used on a client machine to indicate what servers are available. But remember, this is the server machine. What you do have here is a radio list. Now, when Rich created his server, he named his radios. Now, it might be a good idea for you to indicate here the kind of radio that it is in case you have different kinds, like a 7300 or something different. Once you've done this, you can change that. Now, you could right-click on this and select Settings, but that doesn't help you. You're not going to find out what the name of this, how to set this name. But if you go over here to Options and you go to Local Server Settings, all of a sudden the radios come up, and you can now right-click and look at the properties. Now, in Rich's case, this is a beam antenna, but maybe you don't need to know that. So we're going to name it the WZ2D 7300 10 through 40 M. And that should allow us now to go ahead and, I don't know why we're not seeing this down here. Let's go down a little bit lower. And there's the OK. So now when you look at the name of the radio, it's 7300 10 through 40. I want to do the same thing over here. Before I do, let me show you what is shown on my ICOM remote. So if I bring up my ICOM remote, what I see over here is WZ2D 7300 10 through 40. This particular remote utility program is the one on my machine here. This is on a remote machine in New York. And there are the servers. I'm connected to Rich, and there's a couple other servers over here, but these are Rich's radios. So let me go ahead and ignore this for a minute. Come back over to this one and ignore this if you can. See if we can get that out of the screen. Now let's rename this radio also. It is a registered radio. Remember, we got here by, if we gone here and try to change some of the settings, that doesn't help you at all. But if we go to Options, Local Server Settings, we're going to rename this radio something different. So you right-click on it and you look at Properties. And let's call this a WZ2D 7300 80 160 80 to 160. And that should make it pretty clear that that's a different radio. So I come down here and I say OK. And now instantly on my machine, there's WZ2D 7300 80 through 160 or 10 through 40. So that's how you name the server radios. So when I connect to Rich, and there's a server list over here, when I connect to Rich, that's what I see. Now if I happen to disconnect from Rich, I can go ahead and put this screen away because we're not doing anything more over here. Close that. We're back to his two radios. These are the two radios we just named. But over here, this is my server list. I apologize, this is my version of the program. What you'll notice here is WZ2 appears to be offline, and here's it's offline. And now if I reconnect to him, go back to the server list, reconnect to Rich, And now I can go over here and look at the radios, and sure enough, there is Rich's radio, and I could connect to it if I wanted to. Connect. And I've got a remote utility, port 7. I'm now connected, and now I can actually use his radio. If I were to run RSBA1 now, which I'll do, and I pick the connect set, I would go over here, and there's, see, I'm on the 10 through 40. I'd want to be sure that this is the 10 through 40 radio. I say OK. And now, technically, I could connect from California to New York, but I'm not going to do that right now. So that's basically how you name your server and the radios on your server, so that people that see your server list, let me disconnect over here too, disconnect. I'm going to say yes, I don't want that anymore. Then I'm going to go ahead and shut down the remote utility right now. Let me pause for a second. So Rich's radios are now named something, so if someone connects to them, it makes sense.